everybody is wondering what and where they all came
Hail, Internet!
from.
It's Paul. It's Matt. We are here to talk about The Leftovers. Season 3, Episode 5. It's a Matt world.
Yes.
The four Matts. And we were discussing what the theme should have been.
Yeah.
Perhaps the theme to It's a Mad World.
Yes.
Which it was not.
No.
Or the creepy, slow cover version of Tears of Fear's Mad World, which could have theoretically been appropriate as well.
Sure, of course.
It was not that either.
No, it was neither of those things.
It was
some strange thing.
I looked it up.
Some strange French thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I guess what it was is the prayer that the naked guy in the sub says before he launches
is that right?
So it's a version of that, which involves something about in the prayer, this is what I got out of it. I'll put it that way. The verbiage has something to do with destroying the egg in the volcano before it becomes the beast that will devour the world.
Okay.
So maybe that's why he destroyed a weird South Pacific island.
Oh.
Maybe there's a volcano on it. Maybe he blew up a volcano. I don't know. Anyway, we might as well start there.
Sure.
So the opening involves a dude on a sub.
Yes.
Strips naked.
Yes.
Lots of full frontal.
Yes.
Lots of full frontal.
Yes.
And he contrives a way to get the keys, the bombing keys.
Yes.
And then locks himself into the detonation room while everybody's trying to, break into a giant vault, basically.
Right.
And he uses acrobatics
Yes.
to use his leg, his toes, and his fingers at the same time to simultaneously do the keys. Opens the door with the hatch, and then boom.
Yeah.
So what I got out of that is he doesn't blow up the sub. He actually does launch a missile.
Right.
And it blows up this random island in the South Pacific.
Right.
Which maybe had a volcano on it. I don't know. Maybe he had a reason, is my point. Or was it just wherever it goes? I don't know. Did he have this wherewithal to target the thing and pick all that? We don't know.
We don't know.
They don't care enough. They're like, fine.
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter because it's just the result of it. The result is the world is now on lockdown.
Right. Right. It's just an example of how people are reacting in their own special way.
Right. The apocalypse is coming.
Right.
And you would think, oh yeah, order starts breaking down, and even somebody who's in a position of some responsibility and authority could lose it.
Right.
And he lost it.
Right.
So there's an explosion, and hence that's the explosion we heard referenced at the end of the last episode. Yes. So all flights worldwide are down.
Right. Well, except
for emergency flights.
Yes.
For food and such, which is what Matt tries to use to get to Australia.
Yeah. He
tries to use that loophole.
I couldn't remember. I forgot I was going to look up that actor to see what I'd seen him in, and I didn't do that.
The guy's the pilot?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, he looked a little familiar, but I couldn't tell you.
In the comments, tell us.
In the comments.
Tell us how stupid
Who's
we
that
are.
guy?
It's that guy.
That guy.
By then, I would have looked it up on IMDb. But still.
Kevin Costner. I don't know. No, it wasn't. So Matt somehow's got 20,000
Oh, he was. I just remember just thinking about it just a little bit.
Oh, wow.
He was in S.H.I.E.L.D. He was the captain who was going after, what's his name there?
Are you talking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or
No,
S.H.I.E.L.D.?
The
show S.H.I.E.L.D.
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The S.H.I.E.L.D.
Not the Agents.
Right. That FX show.
Gotcha. With the jerk cop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's who it was.
All right. Well done. Bound. You're like instant IMDb.
Name, but that's the guy.
That's the guy. That guy. So that guy agrees for $20,000 to go to take Matt and his crew
and his holy
his holy
wise
retinue.
Men.
Yeah, the three wise men and Lori, which he's not really psyched about bringing along, but she's definitely part of the crew. They basically, at least for this first, not even the first portion, most of this episode is kind of showing the difference of opinion between Lori and Matt as it comes to Kevin.
Right.
Matt's convinced that Kevin is the Messiah. Lori, it's like you were actually hurting this guy by giving him this delusion, and look what it's led him.
Yep.
He's now run off to Australia.
Right.
So the plane, they cannot go to Australia. They're forced to go to Tasmania.
Before they get diverted, though,
There's
Lori was yelling at him about about their disagreement, and then all of a sudden, just when she
was talking about, she said, "Goddamn!"
Being blasphemous is when
boom, the plane goes,
and then Matt has a little smile, like,
see,
God doesn't like what you're saying.
You don't talk anymore. Shut up. So yes, he strike one for me. So it's Michael, John, Matt, and Lori, and then Pilot from S.H.I.E.L.D.,
yes,
who stays on shore. We don't really see him after he flies the plane. So they have to divert to Tasmania, and they're going to take a ferry over to Australia. Now, so they were talking about taking this ferry to Australia. I'm gonna throw in a weird theory. It's not even so much of a theory. It's just like, my guess is the metaphor extends in this way.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't impact what's going to happen. It's just like, this is probably why this has been happening.
Okay.
I mean, what is the very common nickname for Australia?
Down under?
Down under. Okay. Exactly. Thank you for getting that right. If you'd have said, the island of kangaroos, I'm like, okay, never mind. But no, right, down under.
Yes.
When they were taking a ferry to Australia, it kind of made me think of the ferryman taking people to the underworld.
Oh.
The fact that the land down under, it seems to be this place that people keep going. Like, I think there's an underworld quality to this thing.
It could be. I'm just thankful that you weren't going where I thought you were going to reference the orgies with Down Under. So I was like,
that's a different show. So, no, but the idea that perhaps Australia is this underworld and that these prophets and such have to go to the underworld and back. There's that journey that is taken. A lot of times in Greek mythology, a la Persephone and Orpheus and Eurydice. If you go to the underworld to rescue someone, which is usually what happens, it never works out right.
Right. Okay.
Somebody has to stay.
Okay.
Somebody ends up having to stay. So I'm just throw this out. We did see the future version of Australia was future Nora.
True.
Maybe Nora is the person that has to stay. I don't know.
Well,
anyway, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just throwing that out there. I think there's something...
Well, they began to prepare people for that, to say, hey, Matt, we're not going to make it back in time. And, what if he doesn't decide to come back, and then maybe we'll just ask him. And so they're already preparing us for that it might not go as expected.
Yeah. So just saying, trips to the underworld never work out like you want them to. Okay. So, for instance... on the ferry, the only ferry going is a private party, and it is this lion cult orgy group.
Yes,
this lion is an actual historical thing.
Is it?
Back in the 70s, that song that they had, that's an actual song. They didn't make it up.
Oh, I thought maybe they're like, this will fit.
Yeah, I know. So there was this Fraser the Lion, and it became this cult figure in the 70s.
Okay.
So they ran with it. The showrunners ran with it.
They did run.
So they got a lion. Supposedly it's one of Fraser's, the lion's offspring.
Yes.
And it's basically have sex on the boat for 11 hours while they go to Australia. And if you say Fraser's name after midnight, you must become Fraser.
Yes. You must put on a smoking jacket, and you must, talk about your brother and your father.
Yeah.
You must do all that.
You got to start your own show, probably on YouTube. Yeah. I don't know. So they managed to get on board the boat. Although, interestingly, that was like one of the little tests. We don't take money. You have to tell the dirtiest joke you know. So in some ways, it's like, I think Matt sees it as a test of his faith that he's got to, how far are you willing to go to rescue Matt.
I think she just wanted to demonstrate that he would not pretend to be not offended and really be offended.
Gotcha.
So it's like, okay, yeah, you say you'll be fine with it, but really, what's a dirty joke? Come on. Yeah. So, or maybe she just wanted that as a sort of ritual, like, okay.
That's what I kind of got out of it.
I thought it was more of that.
She thought he was too, standoffish, and so she's like, all right. No, not you. This guy.
Yeah, she was like, "Hey,
but Laura, I got a joke.
I got a couple."
This panda walks. Blah 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 blah. The panda joke.
She'd be like, "No, later."
Later. So Matt tells a convincingly dirty joke.
Yes, well,
a blasphemous joke
that yes insults his profession.
And he gets them passage on this orgy boat.
Yes.
Which it has an orgy happening.
Yes, it does.
Kind of reminded me of Westworld, the orgy scene from the Westworld. Remember that? I don't know. All right, anyway, whatever. HBO orgies.
I mean, yes, even though that's like people and robots, but
true. It had, as far as we know, no robots. So
and it looked pretty. Didn't look like there was a high bar for anybody going there either. So there were a lot of people who were just normal, is what I mean.
Yeah, right. It wasn't models.
Like, I'm a rich person,
everybody.
So I'm probably going to be a little more, or with robots who is like, I want the more normal-looking body robot. You're very rare, sir.
So we do learn that Matt also is sick.
Yes.
He had leukemia as a kid. He in his mind prayed it away, but now it's back. I guess it's leukemia. I don't know. I mean, he's taking medication for it, trying to pretend it's allergies. Nobody's really believing him. Right. So he hears about God being on the ship. It's a man in a red hat and knows the captain. And as it turns out, this guy is a guy who used to be a decathlete and an announcer for the Olympics, and then he fell off a cliff and broke his back, and they put him in a cave so the wolves wouldn't get to him. And when they came back, he was fine.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm here. And then he basically got this God complex, or he's God. And now, he hands out cards. So he's like, yep, yes, I am God.
One of the things that I think is, they probably won't answer, but it's a question of, that's certainly, if you break your neck and you fall down, you shouldn't be able to be fine and not have a scratch on you.
Right.
That's how it's described. So it makes me wonder if it's a miracle that he interprets to mean that he's God. But like a lot of the miracles on the show, where it's like something crazy happened, but, people are adding meaning to it that perhaps it doesn't necessarily have any meaning to. Adding
meaning is a constant in the show.
Which is, so it's becoming more and more important, I think, as we get close to the end of the show. Are these events have meaning or not? And so, right now, it's the question of whether or not the things that we think have happened to Kevin have actually happened to Kevin.
Now, interestingly, I did not pick this up, so I'm not taking credit for this, but I did read when I was doing research on that song, for instance, that prayer.
Okay.
It mentioned that the guy who's God does actually show up in Kevin's vision. When Kevin goes into the other place and then has to, sing and come back.
Yes, that is him.
That's God. God is in
that guy looked familiar.
The guy who plays God is in the karaoke bar.
Yes, he is.
So,
wow,
that lends some credence to the fact that this guy may, in fact, be God. But that's what the show is about. This show, in a lot of ways, is about laying out this premise and then letting it be ambiguous.
Wow, I didn't. That's interesting.
So, for instance, we're going to skip ahead here a little bit, but when Matt finally confronts God.
Because he killed somebody.
Burton. His last name is Burton. I can't remember what his first name is, but we'll call him God. Yeah, he throws a guy overboard, and nobody believes Matt.
No.
Which is... he's willing to jump in the water after this guy. Right. You would think, if somebody's that willing to, there's a guy he's just thrown overboard, I'm going to go save him.
He's been acting kind of weird. They only have his word for it. And even his friends.
I know it's his friends. That's I mean, I get that other people on the boat because they're probably drunk or drugged out.
And also
whatever,
too,
like,
the people who were responsible don't care.
Right.
So
right, but it surprised me that John and Michael and even Laurie to an extent are like, no. I mean, it's not, whether he saw a guy being thrown off the boat doesn't really have anything to do with his other delusions as they see them, right? Like, look, I think Kevin's the Messiah. Oh, and this guy got thrown off a boat. I mean, those two things aren't necessary. You know what I mean? Like, just because you think, oh, there's no Messiah, you wouldn't think, oh yeah, he didn't witness something he witnessed. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just seems to me like I would believe him before I wouldn't. I think I'd be like, okay, what do we do? We should call ashore or something. I don't know.
Right.
They just were like, okay, man, that's fine. As we'd learn later, they do find a body.
Yeah. And
so God is going to be arrested.
Yes.
He is not arrested.
No.
It turns out. Well, he has cardiac arrest, perhaps. But so before we get there,
that probably is not the thing that killed him.
No. So there's a conference. So God punches Matt in the stomach at one point, and then Matt approaches him again, knocks him out with the butt of the. I thought he was going to hit him with the hatchet. I thought he was going to axe him.
Me too.
I was like, holy crap! He's going to kill God. Bunk. He knocks him out. Ties him up next to the lion cage.
Yes.
And that's really, it's a really cool scene. Like, there's a tension to that whole thing that's like, at any moment, one of these two guys is going to snap.
Yes.
I mean, we know Matt is getting more and more just obsessed and frustrated, and so you can see it building, and he hates the fact that this guy is blaspheming God.
Yes.
So much that he's willing to knock him out.
Yes.
Tie him up. And this other guy, we saw him throw a guy off the boat.
Yes.
And then we've heard that he has this horrible temper.
Yes.
And you knocked him out and tied him up. You know, that moment when Matt unties him so that he can be healed, I was expecting...
yeah, me too. Because he was looking like,
He puts the hand up. It's a great scene. It's great because they leave it completely ambiguous again. Yep. If they had just hit him, then it would have been like, oh, that guy's not God. He's just a dick, basically. But instead, or if he just touched him and magically, oh, my nose is fine, or whatever. But instead, he's like, you're healed, whatever. But like, it's again ambiguous and so well done. I really, really appreciated that scene. Interestingly, I liked because the interrogation kind of switches sides, right? So Matt's like interrogating him, and then the guy's interrogating Matt. Like, look, you weren't doing all this stuff for me; you're doing it for yourself. Right. And then Matt says that, like, is that why you
are killing me?
Which is like, oh,
he doesn't even ever,
man. And he's just that sense of he's been trying to. He sees all his life. If he's not doing the right thing, somehow it physically manifests itself on him, I guess. And the notion, when the guy's like, oh yeah, Jesus is my son.
Yes.
Mary's lying. And then the thing about, oh yeah, Jesus didn't come back. He had a twin. Brother, He had a twin.
Identical twin.
He's thought it through. I like the fact that he's like, thought this out.
All those answers on his card. I love that he... when Matt says, "When you absolve yourself of the Holocaust," wipe your hands with it. It's like,
so there's a lot of comedy in there. I will say this: there's a couple other biblical type. And I'm not one to. Yeah. You're not talking to a biblical scholar.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Two atheists. So here's what we think about.
Here's what we think. Obviously, like a boop, 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 Daniel in the Lion's Den moment.
Sure.
Right? I mean, he literally gets on this ferry filled with lions and an actual lion.
Right.
And then they're going to back up this lion too. I mean, like, it's a version of Daniel in the Lion's Den.
Okay.
Methinks. It's a test of his faith. I mean, I think Daniel's faith was tested.
That's not a story I know, so.
Okay. I think he was thrown to the lions because he wouldn't disavow God.
Oh, okay.
So that's a thing, and then also, it occurred to me that it's also a bit of like Moses and the golden calf, where it's the big it's the idol, right? Oh, right. It's an idol of a big lion, and that's what makes him get up and go, "You guys are idiots!" It takes the megaphone. Stop it! You're horrible people, and you're worshiping the wrong thing.
You don't care about this person that was killed. All you care about is getting off.
Yeah. So I think there was a couple of biblical.
Thankfully, I thought something really bad was going to happen.
I did too.
When they tied him up and they were going to force a sex act on him, so I was glad he was able to get away.
Yeah,
they were just like, sort of assuming that he did consent to it, and that may have been like his thing, like to fight it. Oh no, don't do it. But no, he broke out, thankfully.
Yeah, I was thinking like a Wicker Man kind of thing going to happen or something.
That's another one I haven't watched.
You haven't watched that?
No.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, if you don't want to know what happens in Wicker Man, even the crappy Nicolas Cage version, then cut about 30 seconds forward. But basically, the whole plot of Wicker Man is it's all a ruse to sacrifice this guy, Nick Cage, or the detective from the earlier version, and put him in a giant man made of wicker and set it on fire.
Oh, okay.
So they burn him.
So you thought it was going to be that?
I didn't know, like, they were going to put him inside the lion or something, or feed him to the lion eventually, or like I was like, ah. But they were just they were too casual.
No,
like they're kind of like, we commit to this, but whatever.
Yeah, no. If he breaks out, it's like, oh, okay, we're not gonna commit to that.
I think they are like, boo, or something.
Right. Yes.
That's what they do.
Yes,
jerk.
When he, I love that he at first he tries to enlist John and Michael to help him, and first he doesn't want Laura to be there to dissuade him, but perhaps he just thinks the men need to do this. But he's like, we're not gonna, I'm not doing that to anybody, man. I'm not doing nothing like that to anybody. And that's interestingly when it's revealed to Michael that that Kevin saw Evie.
Right, which is Laurie's been keeping that a secret because she thinks it'll just hurt John, which it.
Well, he might get false hopes, you would think.
Right.
But
and also because we know from the picture, which I think I would have shown the photo, but whatever. Right. From the photo, we know that it's actually not Evie. Right. So it never was Evie. Right. So why bring it up? Is kind of her thought.
Right. Well, if it was, I guess, but it's not. So there you go.
Yeah. Right. If there was even a question that it was, I think that's a different story, perhaps.
Right. But one thing they set up, which looks like perhaps might continue on to the next episode, is her talking about, and they talked about the previous episode too, which is saying that you're going along with a delusion. Even though...
Right. Don't tell the delusional person that they're being delusional.
Right.
Well, but that was unexpected, too.
And she was saying, initially she was opposing Matt, and saying, let me talk to him. You don't say anything. And then she changed, actually, and said, what? You might have the better story. And what I think she meant by that is that he has some belief in that, obviously. So, perhaps he might listen more to Matt telling him, let's go back to the States.
Yeah. And then in some ways that's also maybe a broader interpretation of that would just be religion has the better story, maybe, when it comes to convincing people.
Apparently he's been vulnerable to it. I mean, they created this sort of world, and it is based on the things that he said. So,
Interestingly, that moment when, because they build to it a lot with the Evie revelation, Matt, Laurie makes Matt promise not to talk about it. He's like, look, I wouldn't do that. And then he turned around and does.
Yeah.
But I was expecting a big explosion from John.
Yeah.
And instead, John really treated it pretty maturely. Oh, I didn't bring it up because I thought it would hurt you. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I can kind of see how that would happen. Okay.
He said, I wouldn't have told me either.
Yeah, I wouldn't have told me either, right. Which I was waiting for we gotta change your plans. We're looking for Evie now, or whatever.
Right.
But no, he was...
It's good that we didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But to me, it makes me wonder exactly where him and his son are, actually. because it's interesting how
You mean
they're
emotionally?
not. Yeah, it's not. They're not. They're not. They're not as passionate as Matt, and they're willing to be more respectful. Oh, there's that great part, and it's interesting how he's always the son is always like, let's be honest. Let's not do this to be dishonest. And Matt was totally willing to lie to get on, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no."
right. Oh, you were going to have sex. You don't mind that, right? Or something like that.
No. They had asked. So he was saying the one guy go, and because he's a friend.
Oh,
of the captain,
that's right. Are you friend of the captain?
I'm a friend of the captain. He just says, "Oh, I'm a friend of the captain," and he's like, "No, you're not."
Yeah. Michael seems to be more, maybe honest to a fault kind of thing, perhaps. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's not like he suffered as a result of it.
No.
So, it's important to him. I mean, they've set him up as someone who believes and is, always had his faith, even when people around him haven't.
One of the things I haven't... from last week, when we realized that Nora did not know about the events that are in the book.
Right.
It occurred to me in this one, does Lori know about the events? Because, for instance, when she's talking about, you guys are just feeding his delusion. You wrote this book about him. Part of me is like, did John tell her, yeah, by the way, I shot him, and he just got up? Like, That hasn't...
Yeah, no, we don't know if he knows that...
That's more than a delusion, right? Like,
we don't know if that's... if she's aware of that specific event.
Because that's from John's point of view, not just Kevin's.
Right. I wonder, if there's some other fact involved with that we're unaware of.
It seems like you could list a few things that are not just from Kevin's point of view, things that are pretty miraculous.
Right.
That it seems like Lori maybe doesn't know. But anyway.
Right. Well, I don't know. It's curious. I mean, I'm hoping. One of the things I'm afraid of is at the end of the series, you're going to have a number of scenes where this didn't actually happen. It just it just happened in Kevin's mind, and they didn't tell us. I'm hoping they don't do that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they will. I think they're going to leave it ambiguous, just like they did with the God curing Matt scene.
Right. I mean, hopefully what they're establishing is the big event, the sudden departure, happened, and we're never going to get an answer for that, and that's been difficult for everyone to have to deal with.
Yeah, and in fact, when Matt starts to buy into the fact that this is God, I mean, he doesn't believe it, but he does. There's that weird duality when he starts, and so he's asking God, and he says
the questions that he wants to know.
He mentions the departure or something. Well, why?
Yeah, why? Why'd you do that? Because I could.
Because I could.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh.
Right, and so. The smaller events that have happened in Kevin's life, which are clearly miracles if they've happened, hopefully it'll be the same, that they're not taking us down some path where it's like, oh, and here's the answer.
Yeah, and he's Jesus.
I think I'd rather have, there are big things that can happen to everybody, and people should pay attention to it, and then there are smaller things that can happen to people too, and they...
And as you mentioned, trying to find the pattern, trying to find meaning in everything, pushes us into very odd places.
If you're going to the point where you're killing people.
You got a religion based on a lion that sired a whole bunch of cubs when he was really old. That sounds weird, but so do a lot of religion. You take a lot of the bases of religions.
In theory, getting hurt by what they did. I mean, somebody got killed, they didn't care. But, ultimately they found the person.
Might be some animal abuse. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Well, there was at the end.
Yeah.
They abused him.
So there's like this, when Matt does his Moses moment, it's like, stop being horrible people. He gets this, I don't know, splinter cell of the lion.
No, it was after God kicked him because he was like, I saw what you did, and he knocks him down, and he's like, hurt. Oh, well, when that's happened, the girl sees. Yeah, and then once he gets knocked down, then she goes over to tell him.
She comes up and goes, hey, some of us believe like you do, or
think they're nuts.
Think they're nuts. So here, just don't stay on the boat.
Yeah.
When we dock, just for your own safety, stay on the boat.
Yeah.
So what they do is when the boat is docked, they release the actual lion.
Right. Exactly when that guy's being confronted by the police.
So the police come up and go, Mr. Burton, you're under arrest. Obviously, they're under arrest because they found the body in the water, and Matt has agreed to testify. And so God turns around to jumps the fence to try to get away from the cops, and pretty much gets mauled to death, we think, by the lion. And then Matt turns around very quietly and just goes, "That's the guy I was telling you about."
Yeah. He watched the whole thing and then turns to the camera. "That's the guy I was telling you about."
That's God.
I love this
I
show.
killed him.
I love this show.
Yeah, so that was great. What was I thinking? Oh shoot, I had another point I was going to make on that. Matt talking to God. It's leaving me at the moment. But yeah. So the lion takes God out of the picture.
Yes, and he says out loud, Matt does, that he's dying.
Oh, right. He says he's dying. And then here's the other thing. Matt. Wait, the cop says something like, "Well, you can come to testify unless you have other pressing business."
Oh, yeah, and he says no.
He says nope. Now, to me, that implies that maybe this whole experience has made him sour maybe on the fact that Kevin's the Messiah?
What I interpret that as is him accepting what Michael was telling him, where it's like maybe, or was it John?
Oh, that has to be here.
This is where it's gonna. We're not gonna be able to get him back.
Okay, yeah, good point. I see that. That's maybe a little more.
I mean, it's possible that he's done, but it doesn't seem.
Yeah,
even from the scenes from next week, actually, that he's still
got his faith.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes more sense. That he's decided we ain't going back to Miracle. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen here in the underworld. Okay, but yeah, maybe. So yeah. Anyway, it's a show unlike any other show.
Yes.
I mean, just think of that progression of this week: nuclear sub,
yes.
naked dude, to lion orgy fairy.
Yeah, it's mauling. Yeah,
confronting God. Just totally outside the box.
Yeah,
in every way, and it's great.
Yeah.
So thumbs up to The Leftovers. We will be back next week for episode 6. And we'll be back for American Gods episode 4.
Oh, yeah.
So tune in then. Hit a little subscribe if you want notifications. And I always do this, like somewhere down there. Anyway, or make comments. We will respond.
Sure.
Awesome. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.
What and where they all came